My name is Ian Stocks. I'm a taxonomic entomologist with the Florida Department of Agriculture and Consumer Services, Division of Plant Industry in Gainesville, Florida. The groups that I'm responsible for are the scales, mealybugs and their relatives, and the Allarodidae, which are the whiteflies. All right, so we did with Ceraplastes floridensis now, so let's go ahead and I'll put on the next slide. We'll get a Saissetia coffeae. All right, so we've got another species here with fully developed antennae, fully developed legs. Also, this one has a tibiotarsal sclerosis. This is an example of a genus where the presence or absence of the tibiotarsal sclerosis happens at the species level. So some species within this genus have it, and some species don't. Okay. Of course, we've got the base of the leg here, the coxa, and just to the side of it is the spiracle, the fairly indistinct spiracular furrow. But once you get here to the spiracular margin, you can just about perceive that the setae are a little bit different. They're broken off there, but in the projected image, if I go up to the posterior spiracle and go up in magnification, you can see this is an example of a species that has there we go. This is an example of a species that has a very modified set of spiracular setae. There's the pair of similar ones on either side of a greatly elongated one right here. And they are substantially distinct from the remainder of the marginal setae, which are more or less just straight rods with a little bit of fringe at the tip. Okay, but we'll go back down in magnification here. Just continue moving on our little morphological tour here. Back down to the anal plates. Go back up in magnification. Okay. So I'm on the 10x power here, focusing in on the anal plates. You can see that again this is a fairly straightforward triangular shape with straight margins that, if you can imagine putting them together, form what we would call a quadrate structure. Okay. Now the important thing here, for part of this key, I can get us started at 10x here, but focus in and out at that 10x around this region here on the anal plate. Okay, it'll be fairly indistinct, but hopefully, ideally, you should be able to pick up on a little pale dot, at the very least, a pale dot. And then if you focus in on it at say 20x, it should become even more clear. Right there. That's the socket for an enlarged seta that's characteristic of this genus Saissetia. Okay. Only rarely, at least in my experience, only rarely in slide-mounted specimens will the actual seta be there, but it is quite modified. It's most of the setae on the anal plates are fairly simple, flagellate with maybe a little bit of fringing. This one is fairly stout and can be substantially fringed. Okay. So that's the first statement for that couplet. Anal plate with enlarged discal seta. And in the absence of the seta, you'll see the discal seta pore, and that's plate 3, figure 5. Okay. The other character, while we've got it in view here, the other character I'll just draw your attention to is again the other parts of the anal structures from the anal tube. This is the anal ring here with the anal setae. Okay, there's the fairly darker lines in there, and then on the outside is basically that curtain of cuticle or membrane that's going to form the tube. We've already done the tibiotarsal sclerosis, but since we've talked about ducts, and it's important to develop an appreciation for duct morphology, what we'll do is we'll go off to the kind of maybe halfway towards the margin from the legs. You'll pick up on another band of ducts. So let me pull out of the magnification here a little bit. There we go. Okay. So it's going to be around in this region here. Okay. All right. So go up to the next power, the 10x. And now I can go hopefully here and pick up on it. And for comparison, the image is going to be again plate 3, but this is figure 3. These always actually, to me, are fairly reminiscent of the ones that you find in Ceroplastes floridensis. They're fairly short, and the parts are all fairly relatively stout. They don't form quite the bulb that they do in Ceroplastes, but the terminal end. I'll go up to 40x. So I get some individuals in focus here. Well, that's actually really good. You've got the opening, the main tube right there, and then the inner part of the tube with the very small cauliflower type gland at the tip there. Okay, and that's what's figured in figure 3 of plate 3. So this is the duct morphology for Saissetia coffeae. Other Saissetias that we have, for instance, Neglecta, Miranda, Olei, they have the basal, well, the part of the tube, the duct that opens onto the cuticle will be similar, but they won't have this inner duct morphology like this. It'll be quite different. Another feature that's important for Saissetia at the species level, even though we've satisfied ourselves that it's the genus Saissetia and it's the species coffeae, there are other characters that fit into things that we've talked about. I've pulled out a focus here now onto the dorsum, and I've picked up on one of the dorsal setae, and you can see that it's not a very wide-based cone, but it's still conical in general structure and pointed, with a very stout socket at the bottom. These conical setae are, again, common in Saissetia, and different species of Saissetia will have conical setae of different sizes. So it's not a Neglecta or Miranda where that seta there is actually quite a wide base. Okay, so it's actually much more conical and stout. Okay.